It seems that the people we love the most have the power to teach us who we truly are. Welcome to the conversations that help us become better partners, parents, friends, and humans, because every relationship is a chance to heal, grow, and belong. Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions Publishing, where we are helping the world experience what's possible. And here today to help me with that mission are some of the amazing authors of one of our newest books. This one is called Brave Families. I'm going to actually give you a little sneak peek right now, you guys. Brave Families, the ultimate guide to long lasting, loving relationships. There is a huge thank you and gratitude for our lead author, Jean Voice Dart. And also just a quick shout out to Davide De Angelis for this gorgeous cover art. We really love collaborating with amazing artists. And back to Jean. Thank you, Jean. We would not be here without you. You had a ginormous vision and mission for this book. And you brought together this stellar group of expert authors to talk about a really important topic that is world changing. This is big potato stuff today, you guys. Just wait until you hear from the very cool people I have in my Zoom room today. Elizabeth Kipp is a certified addiction recovery coach, ancestral clearing practitioner, and award winning best selling author, helping people break free from suffering and thrive. Christina Hay Averett is the co-founder of Vibrant Family Education and the co-host of the podcast Bringing Education Home, which serves families raising happy, healthy, and successful children. And Sandy Krzyzanowski specializes in trauma-sensitive yoga, has practiced yoga for over 30 years, and has taught yoga health and wellness in homes, studios, corporate offices, and high school settings since 2008. Oh my goodness, ladies, amazing authors. Thank you so much for being here today. Christina, I'm going to start the party off with you today. Tell us a little bit about the why behind the chapter you wrote for Brave Families.
Thank you so much, Laura, for having me here. And I'm so honored to be here with everyone else. The why, oh my golly. Well, so I am definitely into education, right? What can we do for our families, for our children to help them grow and learn in the best way possible? So the why of my chapter goes into that. Why did I learn the way that I learned? Why did my son learn the way that he learned? How can that impact families and their choices around education all throughout their formative years, especially those early elementary years when parents are trying to get all of that figured out? Where can they learn the best? How can they learn the best? What can I do to support the child learning? And all of the things that go with that, that helps bring our families together, connected around that learning. Because when you think about education, if your child is melting down in the morning, if your child is not enjoying school, if they aren't learning, then there's a lot of stress on the family. And then that can start also creating other ripple effects. So when our education is a great fit and our children are happy, healthy, and successful, then our families also really have that connectedness that we're looking for. And that's the why for this chapter in the book.
Oh, I love this why, Christina. Like, you're just immediately making me think of the box we all got put in for generations at school. Like, we're learning this way, this is what we're doing, and you better ride this roller coaster or not. But you're making me think of the connection to self-esteem early in life if we're not presenting kids with different ways to learn, right? Like, what else do you want to tell us about this?
It's one of those things that whenever you think about a child's self-confidence, like you just said, and then their love of learning, because no matter who you are, no matter what you do, you really never stop learning. And right now, there's a lot of young people who are like, check, I'm done with high school, or check, I'm done with college, I'm done learning. And that's so wrong, because as entrepreneurs, especially, and as people who are always curious, that lifelong learning really needs to have a love behind it. And we're losing that with our kids. We're losing the curiosity. We're losing that love of learning. And we're really losing that spark in our young people that we need to continue to grow and develop strong families and a strong country and strong communities and a strong world.
There's one other thing about this. Like, even when we entrepreneurs are sharing information with an audience, that audience also has so many different learning styles. And if we're just pushing into one lane, we're probably missing many people who would otherwise really be able to absorb, but can't because we chose the one way to give it, right?
Absolutely. And it's one of those things that I talk about a lot is like whenever you present something or when you try to do something, you really need to try to hit at least two, maybe even three of the learning styles. And if you don't know what a learning style is, you can go look it up. But it's that audio, how you hear things, that visual, how you read things and interpret things, that kinesthetic, that movement that you can do with things. And then of course that text, right? How do you read and interpret things? So all of those different learning styles need to be incorporated as much as possible. And I brought that from my classroom time into my now entrepreneur time.
Yeah, awesome. Christina, thank you. Thanks for being here today, sharing with us.
Thank you.
Elizabeth, I'm going to move over to you with this same why question. Give us a little bit about your chapter.
Thank you. I wrote chapter 10, Brave Enough to Tell the Truth, How Courageous Conversations Heal Relationships. Really, because we are traumatized in unsafe relationships, and we heal in safe relationships. And in families, when something's happening and someone doesn't want to tell the truth about what's actually happening, now we have a disconnection, and now it may not be big T trauma, but it's little T trauma. As we're holding on, we're not authentic. We don't have space to be who we are and say what's happening. It's kind of that simple.
It is, but I want to rewind you to little T trauma, because little T trauma over decades becomes big T trauma. Like, this is really important to pay attention to. And I think communication is probably an umbrella topic that if everyone would really you know, embrace it, the world would change. Like, it's a big deal, right? What else do you want to tell us about that?
Well, big T, little t, it doesn't matter because all trauma hits us the same. It's when it's not actually what happens to us, but because we're alone with the hurt and that lack of being able to be authentic. One of the things that, and I'm so glad that I'm here, and not just in this book with these authors, but particularly in this particular group, is because we're not taught how to have safe, courageous conversations. It's not a thing in school, and I certainly didn't learn. I certainly didn't learn it in my family. Our family mantra was, "We don't talk about that if it's unpleasant," right? So it's really important that we have some guidelines that somebody somewhere we have some guidelines that we show to our family, to maybe our children, to our community. I'm about to work with peer support here in where I live. Tomorrow I'm going over there and work with the peer support people, and conversation is going to be part of it. Safety and being able to be authentic, right? When we're disconnected from each other, here's a really interesting thing about the nervous system. You can't defend and connect at the same time. Just like you can't run and rest at the same time, you can't defend and connect at the same time. So I'm defending my point. I'm at all costs. I'm not connecting to you. And so we need to kind of have a conversation and learn how to navigate those spaces.
Yeah, we do. Definitely. Man, you've got my mind running in about a million directions. We're going to continue to ask you more about this, but to our listeners too, like, if you're really resonating with this idea too, are you in a safe relationship where the communication can even, Elizabeth, like a safe space to practice? Because if none of us were taught how to do this, and we're coming into it as an adult, man, we're not so good at it yet. Like, we need to be able to be safe in the practice of it, and just knowing that both people are in a practice and at least respecting each other, right, in that practice. Anything else there that you wanted to?
Oh, absolutely. That was something that I learned around codependent behavior. I got with a group of other people that were interested in the work, and we didn't know what good healthy boundaries were because they'd never been taught to us. And so we got together for a couple hours every other week on Zoom for about a year, and we brought our difficult issues with our families, and we all talked about it, and we learned, and then we also within the group learned healthy boundaries, and it was such a great learning experience.
Oh my gosh, yes. What we all need that. What great work you did there. Um, Thank you for being here today, sharing with us. Sandy, let's hear it. Tell us your why.
Thanks first for having me. I'm always honored to be interviewed by you, especially. There's something about you. I wrote chapter 8 before I knew what trauma was, breathing into the safety someone gave you. And I mainly wrote it as an honor of my sister. And the story that I talk about in there is the disconnect that happened um, in our family. We weren't in touch for 10 years, her and I, and it was over business. She was working, her and her husband were working for my mom and dad, and my dad had a business. Um, and like you can't defend and connect at the same time. When we got back together, I told her we've got a line in the sand and we need to move forward. So my why was to honor her, but also because she was my safe place. She was my buffer in the Kaiser Permanente adverse childhood experiences, that you need someone in your life that's going to love you no matter what. Not that my mom didn't, but the safety of back and forth and holding your hand and talking to you and doing things that make you feel good. I knew I was safe. And that's my why is she taught my nervous system what safety was before I knew what safety was. And then that gave me the gift of being able to teach other people how to feel safe in their bodies. Now, I learned I had a lot of training in the trauma sensitive yoga, but that was the origins of knowing that how it feels in your nervous system to be safe. So my why was honoring her, reminding people to look through the lens of where they came from. She was born in a displaced persons camp, so her first 3 years were, she didn't have the ability to have her brain form like children in a happy household. But it was also to sort of, I have several family members that are reading the book, and I wanted them to know the good side because they're only remembering the bad stuff. And I think you have to remember the good stuff in a relationship. It's really important. So that's my why. I don't know if that answered your question.
Mm, of course. I love that why. I want to let's move back to the idea of you're going to find this safety, or at least one aspect of this method is you got to come back into the body. It's the somatics. It's, how can I feel safe in here? And for me, it's a very felt sense. And so if I can really rely on it to discern in relationships in a one conversation, it might be like a yes or a no for me, but I'm feeling it in here. What else do you want to tell people about that?
Well, following your inner voice. I mean, your heart knows what it needs. I wrote that in the chapter, and you just knew. You know when someone's safe. You know when they're making you feel safe. It's an intuitive gut thing that this person's okay to be around. And you aren't worried about the minefields, the eggshells. You're not worried about it. You just, one of you talked about being authentic. I think it was Elizabeth. Like, I knew I could just be me. I could be authentic. I could tell her what I wanted to tell her. I didn't have to worry if I was making her happy or sad. No matter what happened in our relationship, it was knowing inside that this person is safe. I can be me. I can be authentic.
I think you just hit it on the head too with people will resonate with no eggshells. Ooh, think about that, you guys. Like, you don't have to worry about that. that
Mhm.
it's you're not trying to tiptoe around someone or try to be anyone but yourself like that. What a huge gift to have someone in your life. Yeah, I know, because you wrote about it.
Yeah,
It's like such a big deal.
it was.
Yeah, what else, Sandy?
Um, she was important to me, and I have to be quiet around my other family members because they weren't happy with it. And even the day she died, we happened to be in Indiana visiting family, and we were having dinner with her family that night when she passed. It was like kismet as far as like she planned it. But I couldn't even talk to the rest of my family about her passing, and it was just not you could well, it didn't feel safe to even mention it, but I'm like this is important to me. I lost my sister, and you all just sort of disowned her and forgot about her. So yeah, I don't know. I kind of went off on a tangent there, but
I get it though. Thank you. Thank you for being here and sharing today. For all three of you, just a huge thank you. I have a lot of gratitude for you all just taking on my challenge to put this vulnerable story in the book. And then you're stepping up with your master teachings later in our tools section, which for our readers, just wait until you see what you have here. The ability to have a practical experience with all of our experts and their master tools. It's pretty badass, y'all. Not to mention Jean putting together the most incredible resource section I've ever seen in a book. Like, if you all need something, relating to families and relationships and communication, man, it is here in multiple ways. So thanks to all three of you for getting that done and for doing it so brilliantly. So I think that, well, I know transformation takes awareness. And with awareness, we get a choice, which is pretty amazing. When it comes to family, Elizabeth, I'm going to start with you. When it comes to your family and relationships, what's been your practice of awareness? What's that looked like? What has helped you?
Oh, yeah, I love that question. I use what I call the sacred pause, and I'll tell you how that came about briefly. I had a family member that I'd be in conversation with, and I would feel bullied. I mean, that's me making meaning. I'm just saying I was feeling bullied. I own that. And so what would happen is I'd get so uncomfortable that I would try and rush through the conversation and anything came out of my mouth and it wasn't optimal. Right? It was just like boom. And and I had kind of an epiphany one day and I was like, you know what? They can wait for me. I don't have to rush like, it's kind of like I was brought up with like, be quiet, nobody wants to hear what you have to say, and I asked you a question, now give me an answer. So that kind of energy kind of formed my nervous system. And so you can imagine me getting uncomfortable in conversation, especially with family members. So I was like, you know what? Everybody can just wait for me to respond. I don't have to, respond just like that. And I just pause and take a breath or two, or maybe three. And I literally wait for it's like I'm kind of aligning with source, with creator, with that energy, and I get a download and I know exactly what my next step is. But I can't get there without the pause and the breath. So that has been like a really important tool. It's a quick and dirty, but very powerful.
Yes, incredibly powerful. Man, if more people took the sacred pause, we would be in a different world, wouldn't we? Thank you for that. I love that kickoff to this awareness question. Sandy, I'm coming to you next. What's that practice of awareness looked like in your relationships?
Well, it's very similar to Elizabeth. Especially with important people, the pause is so important. Like if they've said something that's making you want to defend, I'll pause and I'll say, I'll say something a little more precise that's kind of walking around the eggshell, but I don't want to hurt the relationship. But I'm saying something about that makes me feel this way. It's okay if you didn't mean that, but that makes me feel this way. And sometimes I'll add, can you see how that might make me feel this way? I love you, but so the pause is quite helpful because if you just blurt it out, it's not delightful. So yeah, similar to Elizabeth's answer.
It's a little messy, doesn't it? If we just blurt it out. So this is the whole thing about like being able to respond instead of react.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
all of you might be listening to Elizabeth and Sandy about this and thinking of certain people in your life where it's very difficult to not blurt it out. But I know that line keeps coming up. You can't defend and connect at the same time. I love that. We need to like make a meme out of that. But that's just it. So if the response or reaction is defense immediately, that's the wrong place to be for a better connection, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Christina, coming to you now. When you think about that day to day, your awareness practice, what does it look like for you?
For me and for my chapter, it's about the children, right? So when you are a parent and you're sitting there and you realize that your child's behavior is off, or they've said something about not liking school, they've said something that really makes you kind of perk your ears up. It's not to look at them and say, oh, you need to try harder, you need to do more. Instead, that's your clue to stop and be aware. Where is that message coming from? Where is that behavior coming from? Is there a root cause that's based in their education that's causing them trouble right now that they're struggling with? And what they need to know is that you care for them, you love them, and that you'll work it out together.
Yes, you're making me think of a couple different things, but just be curious. Ask some questions first. Yeah. Powerful.
Absolutely.
It would change everything. These tools, these techniques, you're all of you sharing your awareness. This changes everything. Awareness is everything. I get a little excited about this topic because I know how life-changing and world-changing it can be. I want to give you all a chance to dive a little bit more, maybe into your tool, these things that you want people to know, these things that work for all of you. Sandy, what's the most important thing that you want us to know about breathing back into the safety that someone gave us?
Literally in every class that I teach yoga, meditation, it all starts with the breath. And I keep repeating it, and I'll even say, I know this sounds like I'm repeating it every time, but if you can only remember when you're stressed, take a deep breath and let the exhale start to extend, or find an even out if that's more comfortable, because everybody's preferences and their comfort level is up to them. But breath is where everything begins. And the therapeutic sigh, we have every class I teach has that in there, and some kind of breath practice. So it's a tool we can all use. I use it to help me sleep. I use it to help me calm down. It helps your heart rate variability. It's breath. I mean, so my tool opens with a breath reset and it adds a hum, which affects the vagus nerve as well. So does breathing, but ending with a just humming it out. And humming, really, that's part of it. You're really breathing into a sound, and that's really very soothing. It really works. You can be totally stressed and not know why you're feeling uptight. You start humming a favorite song and you're good. It only takes a few minutes. So that's probably the biggest. I go into a meditation about journaling to your buffer in your life and using that sense of safety to connect with your groundedness. Those are all important things, but it always starts with the breath.
I love that. Oh my gosh. Did y'all catch? She just threw like 3 techniques at us all in a couple of minutes, maybe more than 3. Exhale a little longer than your inhale. Easy. The therapeutic sigh. I love that one. I think I do it unconsciously, actually. I just, people, what's wrong? Are you sighing? Yeah, I'm just down regulating my nervous system a little bit. And then the hum. These are all so easy and amazing. Yes. Love,
Thank
love, love. Okay, Christina, what's the most important thing you want us to know about bringing education home?
I think the first part of it is the redefinition of education. When people think about education, they often think about the academics, the school. But if you really think about that word education, it's the whole child. It's the body, the mind, the spirit, everything that the child needs to learn to be human, to survive in this world, to thrive in this world. And so whenever I want to talk to parents, I want them to really think about you are your child's first best educator. You brought them home. You taught them how to walk and talk most generally. You've helped them raise as much confidence as you can in them. And so whenever you abdicate, when you let that go and give that into the power of somebody else, like our school system, it changes things. So parents, be empowered and step forward and keep control of that education for your child, with your child, and for your family.
I love it, Christina. Thank you. So important. You're just giving me little flashes of being in the kitchen with my kids when they were small, and just what they are learning every second of every moment you are present with them. No matter what you're doing, the presence is already educating. Like, yeah, this is good stuff. Elizabeth, tell us what the most important thing is about being brave enough to speak the truth. This is so big.
Well, I think it's really important that people understand that you can have a difficult conversation with somebody and everybody wins. And that's what my tool's about. And I can't tell you how many times I've run that experiment with that tool, and it's worked every time. And really it begins with breath. Like, we have to bring some breath into it to begin to calm ourselves and set our alignment with one another, our attunement with one another. And it's so simple, because you can start the conversation by something like, I really value our relationship. I really care about us. I really care about you, and I care about our relationship. And then, you can enter. And the other thing is, if you want to have a difficult conversation, don't find somebody and just grab them in the moment. Let them know that you want to have a conversation so they can make space in their life for it, right? So the thing is, there's a process, and it works. And so we don't have to have dysfunctional families because of this miscommunication, not knowing how to communicate thing. There's hope for it, right? I just want to give people hope that there's a way, rather than feeling pinned up against the wall and now I don't know what to do and I don't know where to turn. There's just nothing worse than that.
Well, that is an amazing place to wrap us up, because with this book, there is a lot of hope that there is a way. There are a lot of ways to make these relationships better. Oh, my goodness. Elizabeth, Christina, Sandy, thank you so much to all three of you for what you do in the world and for being in this project and here today to share with everyone. As you all could probably hear, this is way more than a book. This is a very generous community, and they are there to answer a question, maybe carry on the conversations that we started today about this, right? So come on down into the show notes. Everybody is there with their links and websites. Please go explore what the authors are up to. It's a lot, and it's amazing and awesome. And they're really there to answer questions and give you that support if you need it. Of course, we would love it if you go grab your copy of this beautiful book today. The link is below for you for that. And lastly, today, everyone, remember, your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it is time to be brave. See you next time, everyone.
you.